Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I want to discuss something which is a video I've wanted to talk about on this channel for a really long time. Over the course of the Dragon Ball franchise, Akira Toriyama has made a lot of decisions involving the story, the characters, and everything in there. And one of them, I would have to say, has to be boiled down to being his biggest mistake of all. Because he's made a number of mistakes, whether it be plot holes, inconsistencies, or just straight up forgetting certain major aspects of the story along the way, as Dragon Ball fans have kind of poked fun at over the years. But there is only one, there can be only one, that I would say has to be his absolute biggest mistake of all. And that would be the change that he made in the Buu Saga, the major regression he made from taking his character of Gohan, the main character at the time, and reverting it back to Goku as the main character for, really, and unforeseen to him, the foreseeable future. And so I'm going to be going in depth into the manga in this video, explaining why Toriyama actually planned out for Gohan to be the main character, how everything made perfect sense for him to become it at the end of the Cell Saga, and then the overall issue with him, well, going back to no longer being that character. Because this is something that definitely requires a lot of that context, a lot of that in-depth analysis, even though a lot of people constantly say, Mike, 90% of your videos are you just making context and talking about things we already know. Are you sure you really know, guys? Because I've read the manga how many times and I still don't remember everything. Toriyama wrote the thing. He doesn't remember everything. So enjoy the ride, grab some popcorn, grab a drink, and let's get straight into this video as I go as in-depth as I need to, which I do in every single video. I like to poke fun at my audience too along the way. So let's begin with, well, Gohan's beginning, when he was first introduced. Because the thing is that when Gohan was initially introduced, this was already the makings of Toriyama's transition into him becoming this main character. Even though a lot of people seem to believe that Toriyama never plans anything out, and he's even kind of joked about that in the past, the truth is that it's kind of clear when you look at the narrative, which I'm going to be doing a lot of in this video, in the language that Toriyama is telling, the language of cinema, essentially, that it's clear he was telling a much more direct story, a direct through line of Gohan becoming that character, where not only was he introduced in kind of like a fresh reintroduction to the story, flying in with Goku on the Kinto Un, the Flying Nimbus, but he also was given the 4-star Dragon Ball. The very same thing that kicked off the story between Goku and Bulma. Bulma even points this out, where she's saying how he has the same Dragon Ball on his head. Not just that, but he was named Gohan. Of course, Goku, when he was a kid, was safeguarding the Dragon Ball because he believed that Gohan, his grandfather's soul, was inside of it. This is what leads into the coming of Raditz, who defeats Goku at first, and then Goku and Piccolo have to team up to fight and overcome him. Now, this is the very start of Goku's sidelining at this point in the story of Dragon Ball Z and the Dragon Ball manga, where Goku, the main character, is actually killed off here, and Sayonara Goku, as it says, that is the name of the chapter, because Goku sent packing dies, and, well, you know, it begins this shift in the narrative. Because after this, while Goku's running on Snake Way, we start to get a lot more of Gohan and Gohan's training with Goku's former rival and archenemy, Piccolo, where we see Gohan's hidden power unveiling, the fact that Gohan was the one that allowed Goku and Piccolo to kill Raditz in the first place with that hidden power, and not just that, but also we get to see more and more of his training on screen and development early on. And look at the way that Toriyama illustrates the panels here. This is something that you completely miss out on when you're watching the anime, because Toriyama makes it that much more clear just by looking at the covers of many of the chapters that he draws. Gohan here is drawn in, well, the outfit and the appearance of Sun Wukong. Now, who is Sun Wukong? Well, that is the character that Goku is based on. Going all the way back to the very first chapter where we saw that Goku was alongside monkeys and trees in order to kind of symbolize Well, that Journey to the West spoof that Dragon Ball started out as. Again, Toriyama is drawing that visual comparison between Gohan and Goku right here by having now Gohan wearing that outfit. And furthermore, he makes this even more abundantly clear. Look at this, for example. When Goku is training on King Kai's planet, who is training right next to him wearing the same kind of gi? Well, that's Gohan. Again, Toriyama is drawing the parallels between Goku, the current main character, or at least the former one in the future, and Gohan right here, his son, as both of them are training side by side in the same pose and on the cover. And even, of course, the father and son's harsh training. So it's clear that Toriyama, all throughout the course of the manga, was drawing these visual comparisons between the two. And even at this point in time, you could argue that Gohan might have already surpassed Goku in terms of strength during the course of this training. When he's been developing, sparring with Piccolo, everything along those lines, Goku hasn't even reached King Kai's planet yet. So again, we are seeing the flashing back and forth of Goku, the current main protagonist and character of the story, with his son, and both of them developing in power, whereas Gohan is slipping further ahead and ahead. And this continues into, well, the end of this arc. Because what happens at the end of the arc? Well, we have the final climactic battle against Vegeta. But does Goku defeat Vegeta? No. Goku, as we can see right here, is actually beaten and broken and battered on the ground. Who's the one who deals the final blow to Vegeta? Who's the one who actually has the final bout, to reference that video game that everyone hates, against Vegeta? Well, that's actually Gohan. Vegeta cuts off Gohan's tail, then Gohan falls right on top of him, and that's the thing that ends up defeating him. Not Goku winning through the Kaioken, the Spirit Bomb, and everything on his own. No, it's Gohan who defeats this current unbeatable main villain, until, of course, he starts to get beaten in literally every single arc. Now, after this point, what happens with Goku? Again, he's sidelined. Just at the start of the Saiyan Saga, he was killed and then off screen, or training and, not being interacting with the characters, where he was kind of sidelined in that sense. Goku's even more sidelined here because Goku, well, he's in the hospital, he's recuperating, he's recovering, and what happens? Well, we see that Gohan starts to again take on more of a agency in the story. We see here something that goes against this idea that Gohan never wants to be involved in conflicts or anything like that. Instead, what do we see here? Goku said that he wanted to go, but he can't because he's too injured, and Gohan volunteers to go. He says that he wants to go, and when Chi-Chi tells him no, what does Gohan do? He actually tells her to shut up, and that he's going to continue to go and do what he wants to do because he thinks it's the right thing to do, and he's going to go to this planet and get involved in the conflict in order to try and save everyone. And then what happens? Well, that's exactly what we move on to next, because who are the characters that proceed in the story, the new main characters of the story for a significant length of time? Those are Gohan, Krillin, and of course, Bulma. Once again, Bulma going on another mission, another journey, another mystical adventure, but this time it's a science fiction adventure to Namek alongside another familiar character and a new character. And all throughout the course of this arc, Gohan and Krillin are fighting against the forces of Frieza and also Vegeta, who's also involved in the story trying to get his own wish granted. Goku, for the majority of this arc, is not involved at all. He's either recovering in the hospital, he's making his way to the Earth training, and then when he finally gets there, when he finally shows off just how strong he is, what happens again? Well, Goku gets beaten down, and he is needing to be sidelined one more time. He's recovering again. So as we could see over and over again, Goku is constantly sidelined by Toriyama. He's not really the main character of the story in anywhere near as the high degree as people make him out to be here. And not just that, but additionally also, Goku is constantly taken, well, a backseat to his son and other characters in the story. So again, Goku is incredibly powerful. He's the strongest one here up until Vegeta's Zenkai boost. Then Goku gets his own Zenkai boost and stuff like that. But he still is not being factored into much of the story because he shows up, he gets beaten down, and then he gets back up again stronger until he gets beaten down in some other way, and that's what continues to happen until at the end of this arc, he goes on to fight against Frieza. He becomes a legendary Super Saiyan. He takes on the strength of the Saiyan people by accepting his heritage, which was introduced in the previous arc. And not just that, but also he basically develops himself to the highest level of his character in many ways. He gets the legendary form. He overcomes and defeats and avenges his people at the hands of Frieza, initially killing him, because you could actually see when Goku blasts Frieza back, when Frieza tries to once again not listen to him, look at the regret in Goku's face. Look at him shaking, because initially Toriyama's intention was that Goku killed him here. This wasn't that Frieza just somehow magically survived. No. Usually when we get these funny, goofy faces from the villains when they're getting blasted and exploding, that means that they're dead. That's Toriyama's kind of signature in a lot of ways. You know, that gets subverted with Cell and Buu a little bit afterward, but that's because, well, they can regenerate. Frieza, on the other hand, well, he wasn't really meant to survive until Toriyama a few chapters later was like, you know what, let's have him survive anyway. Only for him to be killed by another character, which I'll get into soon. But at the end of this, Goku has his finale in a lot of ways. The ending that a lot of people think that the story should have concluded with, where he chooses not to return to the Earth, where he says that he's going to continue his training, or, you know, we don't really know what he's doing quite just yet at the time. And it flashes again to who else waiting but Gohan. So what happens next? Well, of course, Frieza and his father show up. They get killed by another character who isn't Goku, another Super Saiyan, the character that represents the future and the next generation. But what does he reveal? What happened in the original timeline of Goku? What happened in the original version of the story, as well as his version in the story? Well, he says that Goku actually didn't even play a part in this role. Goku died of the heart virus off screen. He never even got the chance to fight. This is one of the big reasons why, of course, Trunks came back to try and help Goku, to give him the heart virus medication, and not just that, but also to make it so that his timeline would be prepared for the androids to come, and also so that Trunks would be able to find a way to defeat the androids in his time. But who's the one who trained Trunks? Who's the one who became the Super Saiyan and the hero who fought against the androids even before Goku did? Well, that's Gohan. In fact, not just that, but Trunks, in a sense, also saves Gohan, the one who trained him, in effect, making it to where, by the end of the arc, well, what happens next? Well, we see that Goku, after he gets the heart virus anyway, after the androids defeat them, he realizes that his role has now shifted. He didn't belong in the story anymore at this point based upon the flow of time, the natural progression. And so, what does he realize? He still wants to achieve his goal. He wants to become the strongest possible that he can, but he knows first and foremost that he wants Gohan to be even stronger than him, because he knows Gohan is stronger, has more potential inside of him, and is ready to replace him. And all along this whole section of the Cell Saga, Gohan's being built up subtly. We see Goku and Gohan constantly contrasted against Vegeta and Trunks. We see them failing, whereas Goku and Gohan are succeeding in the chamber. And not just that, but also Toriyama's making the narrative again more and more clear, where we see right here another great example. While everyone's trying to figure out what they want to do next when Cell has appeared on the screen, the amalgamation of all the previous heroes and villains in one, saying that he's going to challenge the people of the Earth, what happens? We find out, according to Toriyama's narration, that the people of the Earth have forgotten about the boy who defeated King Piccolo. They have forgotten about the man who defeated both the Saiyans and Frieza, which again is, you know, as I just explained before, Goku isn't the one who really fully did that, but still, the world had forgotten about Son Goku. Goku is training with Gohan. Toriyama is setting up Gohan to be the next main character again in yet another arc in a row. And eventually, well, when they walk out of that chamber, Both of them have mastered Super Saiyan, and Gohan is now firmly stronger than his father. To where Gohan is the one that finally, through the activation of his hidden power, through everything that has taken him from the scared kid that is constantly just getting enraged and fighting with adrenaline, to finally now fully tapping into it, fully controlling it, and now bringing that story full circle in a sense, bringing it to its natural progression and conclusion where he becomes firmly the strongest character, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and is way more powerful than even the main villain. And inevitably, what happens then? Well, at that point in time, after everything has progressed, and I'll get into what happened with Goku in a minute, what happens? Gohan uses that power, uses the agency, uses everything, even with a little bit of help from Vegeta and his friends and Goku mentoring him on, to become officially that character, the hero, defeating the villain once and for all, in even more equivocal sense than what he did with Vegeta. And, well, Goku, he's saying goodbye. This is the grand finale, as Toriyama said, or you would think it would be until the next arc, which I'll get into very soon. Because during this point, Goku also took the next step with him and his progression and also his conclusion. Because, again, Goku is sidelined, but this time in a more permanent sense, where he sacrifices himself to take out Cell. Which he thought he would be able to do until Cell came back super perfect. And at that point, Goku also says that he doesn't want to come back. After Cell has been defeated, he chooses to stay dead, tying more into the narratives again, where he says that, that according to Bulma, and I guess other characters have said this too, the villains are attracted to Goku, which is, true. Frieza and his father showed up on the planet to kill him. Red Ribbon Army and the androids are the reason, they were getting revenge upon Goku because he killed all of them, and so as a result, again, he chooses to stay dead so that he can go off on his next journey off screen in order to train with the greatest masters of all, and in order to be a noble hero, making that final sacrifice. And as we could see here, he even talks about how Gohan saying that, you're more responsible than I ever was, and you're the one who the world is safe in your hands, where he, again, says goodbye to everyone. And we get this perfect ending to the story, where Gohan and everyone else looks on to the bright future, Trunks leaving to his own future, and again, Goku, the spirit of him, is still with Gohan, but whereas he's fading in the clouds, he's gone forever, now another character takes that spot. And for me, I think that the story really should just ended here. I don't think there should have been another arc, anything else. Well, one more chapter just to show the one more conclusion, as we could see here with Trunks. But either way, I think this was the perfect way to take the story, which is inevitably what leads into, Gohan firmly now officially the main character, where it says right here, Toriyama had Master Roshi right here saying that Dragon Ball isn't over yet. Sure, Son Goku's gone, but that kid of his will take his place. As we see the time skip 7 years into the future, the explanation of what happens, Gohan showing up on the Kinto-Un, the flying Nimbus, in order to again show that he is just like Goku, replaced him, but everything's different now. Everything in the story is set up for him to be the character. The narrative is totally shifted. Now it's about Gohan's high school adventures, him becoming a superhero, getting a girlfriend, all these things that the story goes in that direction. Everything following a new path up until, of course, Toriyama begins to, kind of go back to the well, where he brings Goku back. And this is where, again, Toriyama still hasn't 100% given up on Gohan as the main character. After all, when Goku comes back, we start to see a lot of things happening with Majin Buu, the story overall. But Gohan in the background, he might have lost some of his power. He might have, become rusty, but he trained with the Z Sword, and then in turn Well, he got the greatest power up ever. He becomes literally super or ultimate Gohan, depending upon the translation. Mystic Gohan, they used to call him, becoming the strongest he's ever been, way more powerful than even Super Saiyan 3 Goku at this point in time, more powerful than his brother Gotenks, his half-brother, I guess, in the fusion form. And so, what do we see here? He even gets Goku's gi, but there's no symbol on it. There's no kanji because he is his own master. He is now the strongest. He has reached the ultimate peak of him being the main character in the story, ready to defeat the main villain. He shows up and he begins to wreck him, but it's around this time that Toriyama now finally begins to make his greatest mistake of all, because that's not what actually happens. Instead, Gohan doesn't win. Instead, Gohan loses. And then when he and Goku are going to fuse together, well, Toriyama gives up on that idea. He has Buu absorb Gohan. After all the buildup, after everything that we saw in the entire story leading up till now, what does he do? The main villain just takes him and takes his power up and turns him into the strongest form that he's been at that point. A massive disappointment for Gohan fans and for people who wanted that promise to come true of Gohan being the real officially cemented main character and, the strongest one of all, and so on and so forth. Everything that was built up that I showed you all throughout the course of this video. The whole reason I explained all that to you guys, because again, it's not just pointless recap, it's me literally explaining why this is important, why this is a mistake. And again, we see that right here and now, because Toriyama royally messed up right here, because at this point now Goku again becomes the main character. Now everything has once again fully regressed in the story, and it goes even further beyond where what happens? Well, Vegeta comes back too, even though he was dead and sacrificed himself and had another good ending, which Toriyama completely regressed and ruined by bringing him back. And what happened? Well, he and Goku fused together. They defeated the fusion of Buu and all the other characters, but then they pulled out Kid Buu. And what does Kid Buu do first and foremost? First thing he does is destroy the planet, but Goku doesn't even make it to Gohan. He doesn't make it to anyone else. He just grabs Mr. Satan, B, and Dende. Whereas Toriyama, this is what he does to all the characters he set up in this arc. He kills off Gohan. He kills off Goten, Trunks, the ones he introduced here, reintroducing older Trunks and introducing Goten, who was supposed to replace Goku. Again, massive regression. That's the real reason he has Buu blow up the planet, so that he can eliminate those characters from the equation, so that it comes down instead to a battle between Goku and Kid Buu. Inevitably, well, who's the one who defeats Kid Buu? It's Goku. But when that happens, where's Gohan? Well, Gohan, along with Goten, Trunks, Piccolo, and all the other characters, they're off just kind of playing support. This is the most that Gohan does during this fight. All he does is he stands there and he gives his energy to Goku so that he can try and defeat the main villain, which, again, he can't do until they use the Dragon Balls and, a big convoluted ending that Toriyama has become known for in the Buu Saga onward, especially. To where Gohan, he doesn't really play a major role other than helping Goku, giving him energy, and making everything kind of go in this direction. And again, another regression in the story. And then what happens? 10 years later, we flash forward. Gohan, well, he gets to be a scholar. He gets to be an adult. He gets to, read his science book or whatever it says right here. And not just that, he's wearing his glasses. He is the character that, Toriyama had originally said when he was 4 years old that he wanted to be. And, well, that's basically the end of his character. 10 years later, he's irrelevant now in the story, and instead of somebody like Gohan, Goku's son, replacing him, well, instead, Oob, the reincarnation of Kid Buu, replaces Gohan as the main character to come, which never happens either, because, again, Toriyama refused to allow that to happen, so too did Toei and Shueisha, which I blame more for them in that case. But either way, the fact of the matter is that Toriyama even draws Oob in the remade version, the Tankobon version of this ending, with the Kinto-un, just like he did with Gohan at the start of the Buu Saga, just like he did early on the first introduction of Gohan flying in with Goku on that Kinto-un, the flying Nimbus. So again, that's how Toriyama ended the story originally, and then it kept going, twice over. And so again, for me, this is all a major problem, a major change, a major mistake on the part of Toriyama. The ruination of Gohan and the promise of him being that main character, the build-up, and honestly, can anyone look at this ending? Can anyone look at what happens in the Buu Saga and say that it's really better than what we got right here in the story in the end of the Cell Saga, if I can actually find that panel right here? Can anyone really say that the promise of the bright future with Gohan, now the main character firmly, now in control of his power that was deep and dormant within him the entire time, except for all the times that they woke it up, but this time for real, guys, and not just that, but also, the perfect ending we got here and the promise of what was to come, which we never really even need to see if this is the direction they were going to go in the Buu Saga, but really, with Goku coming back into the story as the main character again, and then in the manga ending with Oob supposedly being the person who's going to take over, and Gohan, well, he's just kind of I guess he's a scholar now. He doesn't really have any importance or relevance at all. In Dragon Ball Super, they've continued to go through story arc after arc of him giving up and coming back and giving up and coming back, just like in the Buu Saga, because they have no idea what else to do with his character. And again, even if they, change that now, it's decades later. It's way past the point of no return in a lot of ways, right? So the truth is that for me, this was the biggest mistake Toriyama ever made. And even though Toriyama did say that he thought that Gohan wasn't right for the role of main character, a lot of people grasp onto that one interview, he never really explained why. But we do know that Toriyama was burnt out at this point in the story. He was done in many ways. He didn't really want to continue making it, but he did anyway. Whether it was because of the editors pushing him to, because Dragon Ball was so popular, or, whatever reason it was, he kept going. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like this was the lazier ending. This was the easier ending for him to do. Well, if I'm going to end the story, I might as well just end it with Goku being the one who wins. And I might as well just, have everything kind of go back to status quo. And then I could just do a random 10-year time skip and have the reincarnation of Kid Buu, a character I just introduced within the last volume of the manga I was writing for 11 years, now be the one to replace Goku and Gohan and everything build up to that. It just really feels like a kind of weak ending, a kind of lazy cop-out ending, and the way that things really never should have gone. If Toriyama was that burnt out, he should have stopped right here and now. Perfect ending. And then he could have come back in the future. Dragon Ball Gohan. Dragon Ball Gohan time instead of Goku time in GT. And instead, we could have gotten a much better story, and I feel like even if it was the Great Saiyan Man and everything, fans would have responded better, but instead, well, what did he do? He ended up regressing, changing, and making the biggest mistake he ever made. But with that being said, guys, this has been my in-depth explanation of what I believe Toriyama's biggest mistake was. And wow, it's, almost 30 minutes long. That's the thing. I never know how long these videos are going to be until I end up actually seeing that at the end. Truth of the matter is that this, for me, by far, biggest mistake Toriyama ever made. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with this? Do you think maybe he's made other mistakes that are even bigger? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, again, make sure to subscribe, enable notifications. That way you can see all my videos all year round rather than just when YouTube decides to show them to you. And make sure to stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future. Unless Toriyama changes it.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.